Senator Bob Casey and Dave McCormick will face off against each other in the Pennsylvania Senate race. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video today. It is time to talk about the 2024 Pennsylvania Senate election because Pennsylvania, at least at the presidential level, will be arguably the most important battleground state. But despite this fact, we really haven't talked much about the Senate race that is also occurring. And for one reason, Bob Casey. Obviously, Bob Casey is the clear favorite, which is crazy to think about. I mean, Pennsylvania is a 50-50 state. Well, Casey has been there for like 20 years. He's very well liked. And despite Republicans running the quote-unquote electable choice in David McCormick, Republicans face an uphill battle against Bob Casey. But despite all of this, we still got to talk about this race because while it's very unlikely, there is a possibility the Republicans could maybe, by some miracle, if the stars aligned, they could maybe, in a best case scenario, win this race. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Again, folks, all support is greatly appreciated, and yeah. Now, I do want to be clear that, like I said in the intro, Republicans have virtually no chance of winning here, despite it being a Biden plus one state, a state that Trump won back in 2016. It's a very unlikely scenario that Bob Casey goes down. For the simple fact that he's been there for 20 years, every election he's won by like 10 to 15 points. He's an electoral juggernaut in Pennsylvania. And that's because of his last name, Casey. For those that don't know, Bob Casey's father was a pro-life Democrat in the Commonwealth. And take a guess why he wins. Because of the last name. That's the only reason Bob Casey wins by as much as he does. For crying out loud, back in 2018, which I know it was a blue wave, but still, Bob Casey won by 13. You know, a state that Biden won by only 1 point in 2020. A state that Trump won back in 2016. This is just a recent example. Back in 2006, he beat Rick Santorum by like 20 points. And that's when Santorum was the senator in Pennsylvania. So he beat an incumbent by 20 points, which I know it was a blue wave, but still. But let us actually get into it. Democratic Senator Bob Casey and Republican challenger David McCormick will face each other in Pennsylvania's high-stakes U.S. Senate contest this fall, as Tuesday's primary election put the men on track for a race that is expected to cost hundreds of millions of dollars and help decide control of the Senate next year. What a pile of crap. Are you serious? Hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, the argument with McCormick is, well, he could self-fund. This is the reality of these self-funders. Every single year, they might self-fund in the primary just a little bit, like $10 million. After that, nothing. They're not going to self-fund $100 million. That's not going to happen. So take a guess where this money is coming from. Mitch McConnell and his people. So instead of investing in other key states, they want to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into this one contest. Despite McCormick being the self-funding electoral juggernaut. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And to put this into context how stupid this plan is, so this is the current Senate map. Democrats have 51, Republicans have 49. We know for a fact Republicans are going to win in West Virginia. Joe Manchin's gone, whatever. You just need one state to flip, and you have the Senate. You notice how there's a bunch of Republican-leaning states that currently have a Democrat senator, or at least two of them. Ohio and Montana. And you have a bunch of battlegrounds like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona. They also have Democrat senators. And you know, Ohio and Montana are the easiest states to win. Trump won Ohio by 8 points. He won Montana by 16. Granted, you do have to deal with Brown in Ohio and Tester in Montana, but still, you have a good chance of winning these two states. You just gotta win one of them. Let's just say they win both. Now, I understand that they only have 52 Senate seats, with Republicans like Murkowski and Collins. You know, a majority of just 2 might not be enough, but at least it gives you some kind of buffer. So you don't have to worry about Murkowski every single vote. But either way, if Mitch McConnell and the Republican Party was smart, at least on the Senate front, this should be the focus. Yes, you want to win a state like Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, but just say, all right, Republicans are only able to win 2 of the seats, which, you know, that would be, in my opinion, a disappointment, considering the fact that Democrats had to defend so many seats across the board, even states like New Jersey, hell, even Virginia, you could argue are going to be much closer than usual. But let's just say, all right, they end up with 52. You still have a majority that gives you some buffer so you don't have to worry about Lisa Murkowski or even Susan Collins. You have a 2-seat buffer. But these idiots like Mitch McConnell, their strategy is say, screw Ohio. We're mad that Bernie Moreno won the nomination. Screw him. We're not going to spend anything. But that money will be invested into Pennsylvania. That's the genius of Mitch McConnell, everyone. You think I'm kidding? Where do you think this money's coming from? The hundreds of millions of dollars. This isn't, you know, going to be from Arizona because they weren't going to spend anything there anyways. Same thing with a state like Nevada. They were going to spend some, but not a lot. I guarantee you the vast majority of this money is coming from Ohio. Does no one see a problem with this strategy? Because let's just say McCormick loses, which more than likely, based off of recent history with Bob Casey, he's going to lose. So Mitch McConnell, let's just say he gets it his way and he spends $500 million on Pennsylvania. McCormick's going to lose, even in that scenario. So instead of having 52 seats, which, again, you have to deal with Murkowski and Collins and a couple other bozos, but you got a buffer. At the bare minimum, you do have a buffer. Under this strategy, you risk only having a 1-seat majority. Therefore, giving Collins and Murkowski effectively total control over the Senate. This is the plan of Mitch McConnell. That's his strategy. Yes, stuff could happen in maybe Maryland. Hell, even like Michigan or Wisconsin. Something crazy could occur, maybe. But why even risk it? Why even throw a very easy scenario out the window? Why? What's the benefit of doing this? And you're doing it for David McCormick? You know, the same guy that back in 2022 cost Oz the race. I really think that McCormick running in 2022, it really screwed Oz over. Because it caused a very contested field. It forced Oz to spend tens of millions of dollars on the primary, while Fetterman really did not have a primary at all. Didn't have to spend that much against Conor Lamb. But McCormick, oh, he spent like $20-30 million, and he still lost, but it was a very close race. Very contested. If McCormick didn't run, we probably have Senator Oz right now. I'm not saying he's the only reason he lost, but he's, in my opinion, the biggest reason. Now, as for where McCormick stands on the issues, he sucks. Remember Pat Toomey? Well, David McCormick is essentially Pat Toomey, but slightly more pro-gun and slightly more socially liberal. Yeah, that is David McCormick. That's what you're investing tens of millions, hell, hundreds of millions of dollars into? Just Pat Toomey, but less crap on guns? That's your plan of winning back the Senate. Now, as for the current state of the race, McCormick has spent like, I think, $10 million so far. And right now, according to the polls, he is losing by 6 points. We'll just round up. Now, granted, Bob Casey is polling pretty low, considering the fact that he's been there for 20 years, considering the fact he has a name recognition. The fact that he's only at 49% is pretty pathetic. But back in 2018, right, this is an apples-to-apples comparison. Granted, it was a blue wave. You could say, well, things could have changed, whatever. But either way, back in 2018, early on, Bob Casey was around the same point, like 48, 49%. Early polls, 48, 44, whatever. So roughly the same range. But when September and October hit, yeah, he got above 50%. It was over for Barletta. Right now, he's at 49%. And compare that to the 2024 presidential race. Take out this Franklin and Marshall poll, that's trash. Biden ain't winning Pennsylvania by 10. You take that out, Trump is probably up in the aggregate by like a point. That one poll is keeping him from winning Pennsylvania, according to RCP. So in other words, Trump is doing roughly 7 to 8 points better than McCormick. Or let's just say, be nice to him, say 5. In that scenario, Trump would have to win Pennsylvania by 5 points. And that's best case scenario. That's if the stars align, everything goes perfectly. He runs 5 points worse than Trump. And the reason for that is simple. A bunch of Trump voters, as late as 2018, vote for Bob Casey. Like, look at Beaver County, right? This is a county that Trump won by, what was it again? Oh yeah, 18 points. Biden got 40% here, right? That's critical. He only got 40% of the vote here. Bob Casey got 51%. Look at Greene County. Barletta got 51% of the vote. Bob Casey, 47%. Biden got 27%. Hell, I think, yeah, Bob Casey got more raw votes, despite being in a midterm, than Biden got in a presidential year in Greene County. This is where Bob Casey runs it up. This is the ancestral Democrat part of Pennsylvania. These counties, I think, voted for Gore. A couple of them voted for Kerry, even. So, that is where and why Bob Casey does so good. He does amazing with the ancestral Democrats that now vote Republican, at least at the presidential level, but are willing to vote Democrat for Bob Casey and someone like Josh Shapiro. Now, does that mean, Bob Casey's gonna get 47% in Greene County? I highly doubt that. I think you lose to a place like Beaver. He should, theoretically. But even then, I think he's gonna get enough support from Trump voters to where he's not gonna lose. And that's a problem with David McCormick. He has to find a way to win over these Trump voters, and I don't think he can. I just don't know. We got to see what happens, but this strategy of banking the entire Senate majority on Pennsylvania, when you could throw everything in Ohio and have a much better chance of winning, mind you, might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But that's Republicans for you, at least at the Senate level. Mitch McConnell, for whatever reason, loves David McCormick. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.